Yo, what's going on, everybody? So today I'm going to bring you my full review for Xenoblade Chronicles 3. I'm going to go into every mechanic I possibly can. I've had a lot of time with this game, so I'm going to split this video into two sections. We're going to start with all the good in the game, everything I thought they improved on, and then we're going to go into all the bad, all the stuff I didn't enjoy or thought they could have done better. Now, when talking about the good or the bad, there's going to be mini sections. I'm going to talk about combat mechanics, boss design, exploration, gem crafting, story, characters, performance on the Nintendo Switch, and everything else you could think of. So without further ado, everybody, let's get into the good and the bad of Xenoblade Chronicles 3. Let's get into the combat mechanics, as combat is my favorite in JRPGs. So for Xenoblade, it's very unique in my opinion. Xenoblade 3 follows what 1 and 2 did, pretty much tries to combine the best of both worlds, and succeeds about 90% of the way. The parts where they get wrong, I will go into the bad section of my video towards the end. But they did a really good job of mixing Xenoblade 1 and 2 into their combat system. So half the party members are going to have arts that recharge, just like Xenoblade 1. The other half is from auto-attacking, just like Xenoblade 2, which is really cool. You also have things like Break Topple Daze, which was in Xenoblade 2, but I found it a lot more prominent in Xenoblade 1, and you're doing a lot of that in Xeno 3, while doing your art canceling and all the stuff you're used to from Xenoblade 2. So it's a nice little mix of both. From the feel of it, it feels really good to smack shit in this game. And what I mean by that is the sound design is really good, the animation design is really good, and it just feels good to swing a sword or any of the weapons in this game. Instead of the blade system like Xenoblade 2, which brought a lot of depth in my opinion, you have the hero system, which is basically a 7th party member that comes with a different class, which you could then use on all of your own party members, and you go around the map finding these to unlock them. They're really cool because each hero is super in-depth, and they each bring different gameplay mechanics to your team. And then you could take the new hero you got and put that class on, let's say, Noah, and level that up. So there's a whole class system to it, kind of like the job system from Final Fantasy games if you've played some of those. So the whole base of their combat here is really cool. And what they did is they let you control 6 party members in battle, which is pretty outrageous considering Xenoblade 1 and 2 only had 3 party members you could use, and you could not swap mid-combat. So being able to swap mid-combat and use a tank, healer, or attacker is pretty damn awesome. You have a lot more control of the battle in your hands. They also added dodge rolling, which is really useful. It is not your typical dodge roll with iframes, like you're not going to try to dodge attacks. It's basically used to get into positions a lot quicker, but it's damn smooth and it's fast. Like I didn't expect it to be this good. The only thing that kind of sucks is it's on a really random button, your right analog stick. You got to click that shit down. But there's a lot of buttons in this game being used for other stuff, so it's understandable. But damn, I love the dodge roll in this game. You have the gem system from Xenoblade 1, but it works a bit differently. You're basically going to go find a bunch of items around the map, pretty much anywhere, and if you have all the correct items, you can craft gems. And you're going to keep crafting gems to higher levels, and it replaces the previous gem. So if you have a level 2 gem, you level it up to level 5, you will have that level 5 gem to use on any of your party members. That is really cool and different from Xenoblade 1. Just like the previous games, team building is very necessary. You have to build your tank correctly to tank damage and have a lot of HP. Your attacker has to do damage, and your healer has to stay alive. Another thing in this game is healers are the only ones that can revive. So there's a lot more prominence on keeping your healers alive, and I actually like that mechanic. Usually it's the party meter from 1 and 2, and you can revive anyone. But I like the change. It's not really good or bad in a sense, but I do enjoy kind of knowing the healers are the only ones that can get you up, and you have to keep aggro on your tanks and doing damage with your attackers to make sure your healers are okay. I think that's super cool. Now let's go into the bosses. Aesthetically, the bosses look badass. I love the look of the story bosses on the console. I even love the animal unique monsters in this game more than the others. They look very unique and kind of badass at times, like really cool looking animals and monsters. So I really enjoyed that and exploring the world looking for those types of bosses. Now, one of my biggest issues with this game was the difficulty, and I'm going to go into the bad section once we get there. But the bosses did bring a good challenge and felt fair. There were some bosses where like you could never debuff them, and I was like, okay, well, I guess you can't use any of that stuff. But bosses generally were designed well, like the other games, and I thought they were a lot of fun. One thing in general in this game that's just really satisfying, I think more than the other two, is kind of just getting the enemies into a break, topple, launch, smash combo or something. I don't know if it's just the sound design that upgraded or the animation quality, but damn, it is so fun to send a boss launched in the air, spinning like an idiot, and then just smashing him into the ground. It is so damn cool, and it flows way better than the other two, in my opinion. Like, the combat in this game is definitely the most refined out of Xenoblade 1 and 2. Now, there's also chain attacks, which I'm sure you guys know from the previous games. Chain attack is a huge mechanic in Xenoblade. Almost brings up a different whole combat mini game in all three of these games when you activate a chain attack. So in this game, it kind of bases it into doing all of your roles correctly. And if you do them correctly, you're going to be given a lot more turns and a lot more damage. And the way you set up buffs or whatever you use with your characters is going to determine how much more damage you're going to get. And then if you complete any of these orders that you're given, your characters will do a little super move at the end of it. So I'm not going to go super in depth in the chain attacks because there's so much to it. But they're a lot of fun. I think the style and the animations of it are like the most fun. Like, I don't ever get sick of doing a chain attack, to be honest. And don't even get me started on the chain attack music. The chain attack music and the whole soundtrack, let's get into that, is just absolutely incredible. I blast it in my car on the way to work every day still. I think the music of this game is absolutely incredible, just like the previous two. There's some tracks in this game I think even exceed the previous two, like the console theme. Man, when that shit kicks up, it's so cool. The last kind of combat mechanic that is brand new is the interlink system. Now, this is like a get out of jail free card, in my opinion. Like, you don't take damage when you're in this, and even if you're at level 1 during the fight, if you activate your interlink when you're at 1 HP, you'll save your ass. Or if you use unis, you could heal up your team. So there's so much use to it. It's definitely better to wait till level 3, and you could do a lot of different moves. Like, you could break all the enemies and then launch all the enemies if 2 of your interlinks are at level 3. So there's a lot of depth to them, to be honest. But they weren't my favorite things in the world, but they were really, really cool and useful at certain moments. The look of them, though, holy guacamole, these things are sick. Like, I love the look of these things. Whoever drew the Ouroboros forms, give them a raise. One minor thing I like to mention is Xenoblade 1 and 2 did not have the best sound mixing, in my opinion. And what I mean by this is when you're in combat, sometimes you can't hear the beautiful battle theme because everyone's yelling too much shit. Or the sound effects of smacking your sword overpowers the music. Stuff like that. Xenoblade 3 did a very good job of their sound mixing, in my opinion. I didn't have to edit any sound settings like I usually do, and the battles sounded really good. Noah wasn't yelling in my ear. The only person who yells in my ear is Senna after we finish a battle.
Girl with the gall. Girl with the gall.
So if you're looking for like fun JRPG combat, or if you enjoyed Xenoblade's combat before this game, obviously, you will like it. I could almost bet my money you would like this game's combat. It's the most refined out of the bunch, and there's a lot of new options you can mess around with. Very, very fun combat system. All right, now we're going to go into the exploration, and man, this is the best upgrade in the entire game, in my opinion. If Xenoblade 3 took something from the previous games and enhanced it, it was the exploring. I think they nailed it in this game. Man, I was addicted. I could barely do the main story quest because every 3 seconds I'd be sidetracked from a pretty shiny object or a new quest. And then the side quests, They, in my opinion, set a standard in a way for JRPGs. I know the Trail series and many others have fantastic side quests, but the animation and cutscene quality, the voice acting, all the stuff that was in these side quests were basically the same quality as the main quests. So having them mix and match and you finding new quests on this overworld map and then seeing later how it connects into the main story, exploring and side questing, in my opinion, has never been more fun. If you like just exploring around and going and finding random caves, shiny objects, treasure chests, finding new quests, new NPCs that will repop up, you will enjoy this. Like, man, I was so addicted. It was very enjoyable, and I definitely think it's the most refined out of 1 and 2 in terms of exploring. There's no more field skills from Xenoblade 2, which everyone hated. I actually loved the field skills. Not really how they blocked story sections off, but I liked going back with new field skills and opening stuff. I really love Xenoblade exploring, but Xenoblade 3 took it to the new level, in my opinion, which I'm very, very happy about. They also give you XP for finding secret areas or new areas like they did in Xenoblade 1, which I really appreciate because nothing's more satisfying than finding a secret cave and 2,000 XP pops up on your screen. I'm like, hell yeah. There's also a campsite system that I mainly saw in Xenoblade 2's DLC, which I think is super cool. You could craft gems there, cook food. They're always working out or practicing combat. I love going to the campsites. They're just like cozy. You can discuss stuff, which start new side quests. And that is really cool to me. Like, you'll go talk to NPCs in a town, learn information, and then when you're at the next campsite, the team will discuss it, and it will give you some XP and a side quest. That is badass. Makes the world feel immersive, and if there's one word to kind of describe my time with exploring the world of Xenoblade Chronicles 3, it was immersive. So I had the best time in this game exploring, for sure. Now let's talk about the music. Music is also very, very important to me for video games, mostly JRPGs, because they really stick with me and create a mood. I will literally listen to JRPG soundtracks all the time in my daily life. They bring a sense of calmness or hypeness, I guess, because the moments when they play from the game, goes into your memories and brings nostalgia. And I could confidently say this soundtrack slaps. But yeah, it's incredible. Each area, it fills the mood very perfectly. Each boss theme is hype as hell. The unique monster themes are jazzy as hell. The final boss theme, incredible. So yeah, I don't need to say much more about the music. Next, I want to talk about the characters and the writing a little bit. Now, I feel like each character shined in this game, whereas even though I loved the cast of Xenoblade 1 and 2, I feel like some members didn't get the shine as much. Now, I definitely feel like each of these members are definitely fleshed out, which was really cool. I loved the chemistry between them, and the way they wrote some of these interactions were really charming. Like, they felt realistic, if that makes sense. Like, a lot of these scenes brought a sense of like, hey, this actually happened to me in like a discussion with my friend or something like that. And then when you have moments like that, it really makes the world feel immersive. And that I thought was really cool, how each of the party members talk to each other almost like real life friends. It felt very real. I enjoyed that a lot. Now, for the writing aspects, like the way they threw in spark for every curse word for things like that, I enjoyed it, honestly. I think it brought like a funny charm. It never really bothered me, to be honest. So when it comes to stuff like that, I think they did characters and everything pretty perfectly in this game. I wouldn't really say there's anyone where I'm like, okay, I do not like this person. And there usually is, so kudos to them for that. Now, I wanted to talk about the story. Now, I'm not going to go into spoilers, as I said. I'm going to briefly just kind of discuss what I thought of it as a whole. I thought the intro was amazing. Like, one of the best chapter 1s I've ever played. So if you haven't played this game yet, you have chapter 1 to look forward to, damn. But I had a lot of fun with this story. It's a lot more serious and dark in tone than 1 and 2. So there's definitely that. Now, there's parts in this story that got me really emotional, not really to crying, but like I was like, oh my gosh, like made me feel really warm and happy. And Xenoblade always kind of gets you thinking about life and morals and things like that, I feel like. But this game really nails it on the head in that sense. So there's a lot of moments that I really loved. And one of the best things in this game are the damn cutscenes. I think the cutscene animations, especially the fighting choreography, is just outstanding. Like, I've never seen a JRPG like fight scene look like the ones in this game. Xenoblade 1 and 2 already were ahead in that regard, at least in my opinion. But for this game, it wins. It's number one in terms of cutscene direction, at least for fight scenes especially. There's so much emotion in these cutscenes, and the fighting is just incredible. Like, if you want some eye candy cutscenes, it's there. There's so much intensity. The music will capture the scene, and like, you will just be in awe. And when the sad or the hard-hitting moments happen, they hit really hard. So there's a lot to love about this game's story. The villains and stuff I thought were really fun. Whether you'll think they're as good as the previous Xenoblade games villains, that is up to you. I'll talk about that more in a little bit. And then the end portions of the game I thought were incredible. I thought the final dungeon was like one of my favorite final dungeons, and the final boss was both grand and awesome while still offering some mechanically challenging parts. So this story was one of my favorites of all time for JRPGs. So we now covered all the main kind of sections of the game. I'm going to go into like the miscellaneous now, and what I mean by that is just a bunch of kind of random things I thought were really, really good about this game, or that I personally enjoyed. The first one is how fast menuing is. Having to build your team and go through a lot of menus takes a bit of time, and Xenoblade 2 had a huge issue where the menus would lag and it just took forever to edit your shit. In this game, it's very snappy and responsive while also having like really pleasing aesthetics and good music. I really want to highlight how nice the menuing is in this game when you're editing your characters. I don't know about y'all, but for me, the first Xenoblade game, it felt weird to run around the world. I don't know. Shulk's running animation or whatever it was with the way it would connect to the ground, I didn't really like running around as him. That might sound weird, but jumping and running around in Xenoblade 3 just feels a lot better. So the controls, I would definitely say, are an improvement. Another thing is the Switch performance. Now, they use like a dynamic resolution to keep the frame rate at 30 FPS. It sometimes makes the game look a little muddy. I'll go more into that in the bad section, but for the good is the performance is way better than Xenoblade 2. It pretty much holds 30 FPS at all times. Even when the battles are crazy, there were some areas where the FPS would drop, but it was really stable for the most part. And at times the visuals do look really good when the resolution settles, so kudos to them for that. I personally thought the pacing of the game was really good, especially in terms of the chapters. I felt like almost at every turn there was something exciting happening, and it was always like on a roller coaster, but not like too intense at all times. So that was really nice to me. I really liked the way they did chapters. Now, you could obviously tell I really loved this game. Xenoblade meant a lot to me, especially Xenoblade 2. So I had a lot of expectations for this game, and at the same time, I knew Monolith was going to get it right. Having the game release earlier than it was expected to, while just seeing the quality from Xenoblade 1 and 2, I really, really think they did a fantastic job. This game is one of my favorite JRPGs of all time now. I will always be going back to it and playing it. I cannot wait for the damn DLC. I'm gonna be all over that shit when it releases. So it's pretty damn positive of a game. I honestly don't even care to talk about the negatives most of the time because I think there's just so much love in this game. So amazing game. I really rate it high. And now we're going to go into the bad section, where there's definitely things I think they could have improved on, or things that were just, I didn't really like that. And I'm definitely going to bring those up, even though I adored this game, because I think they should always be talked about. And for the sake of my review, I want to throw out all the thoughts that I possibly have. So by all means, I hope you guys enjoyed the first section of this video. And now let's get into the bad. You guys will obviously be able to tell this section is pretty short compared to the good. I really loved the game, what can I say? So, the balancing in this game I thought was pretty bad. And I wouldn't even say like slightly off. I think it's pretty bad. Normal mode in this game is so easy compared to Xenoblade 1 and 2. Most of that comes down to being able to do any quest you damn near want at Chapter 3. Obviously not all of them, but me and so many others were so overpowered for any of the story bosses because we were off doing all this side stuff. Now, I don't have the solution to what they should have done, because blocking off sections of side content would make the game more linear. So I don't have the answer. All I know is we were able to get way too overpowered for normal mode. And none of the story bosses around that time hit in the sense of they would be intense during a story cutscene, and then I would absolutely dump them in the fight. And then I'm just like, okay, wow, it makes you guys kind of look more like a joke. So once I turned it to hard mode, it definitely felt more balanced, and I did the rest of my playthrough on hard mode. And it was a lot of fun. But at the same time, I still got a little bit broken. And that is because some of the classes are just really, really strong. As you guys probably know, the Signifer class is just ridiculous, being able to buff your team constantly with multiple buffs, and even being able to give invincibility from Noah, if you guys have seen that. So it's like, I don't know. Some people want Signifer to stay like that with no balancing patches. I don't care either way. I don't really think a JRPG needs balancing patches unless things are horribly wrong, so they could leave it in for fun. But at the same time, it makes it hard to not want to use that class. It makes it hard to not keep that class in. And a lot of people like to say, do this, don't use that. I don't like to hinder myself with video games. I think it's fantastic when you could throw every mechanic the game gives you at a boss and it's still tough, still fair. That to me is incredible. So at times it is really frustrating how I want the bosses to be a bit more challenging, and you kind of have to hinder yourself a bit if you want a super challenge. Now, I know challenge mode is coming and more super bosses and all this, so I will get my wish. My main issue I want to outline is that when I went through this game on normal mode and even hard mode, some of the story bosses that would have been really intense ended up falling flat gameplay wise, and that did not happen with Xenoblade 1 and 2. I got my ass kicked at certain points in Xenoblade 1 and 2. So that was my biggest issue with this game. Not a super heavy issue. As I showed earlier, I adored this game, but I do wish the balancing was a bit better on release. Now, this one is really personal opinion. Like, this one is just a me thing. I think the blade system in Xenoblade 2 is more fun than the hero system in Xenoblade 3. They're basically kind of the same in a sense where the developers seemed like they wanted to do something like the blade system again, so they made the hero system. Now, I really adored the blades. I thought they were so in-depth. The skill trees were so fun to unlock. I even loved the gacha. I know a lot of people hated it, but I loved the gacha because you could go get as many crystals as you want just by playing. There's no money. It's not a multiplayer game. So it's like, I loved getting like randomized rare blades. It was really fun, almost like a collect-a-thon. Now, the heroes, it's really fun to get them through the side quests. That part is 100% amazing. But swapping through all the classes, I don't know. Something about it is just not as charming as the blades. And then same with the chain attack. as amazing as the chain attack is in this game, something was more satisfying about getting the elemental orbs around the enemy and then breaking it into a full chain in Xenoblade 2. It was just a bit more satisfying. So I do wish I played this game and I was like, oh no, this chain attack is 10 billion times better than Xenoblade 2's. But I'm gonna be real, I had more fun with Xenoblade 2's chain attack, a slightly bit more fun with Xenoblade 2's combat. So I would kind of put that as a very personal miniature gripe I had with this game. Another thing is I do think they did villains a bit better in the previous entries. I loved the villains in this one, but I could see where some people would have issues. There's a lot of them, so it's hard to write all of them in depth, and it seems like a bit of them fall flat sometimes. A couple of them did for me, didn't really hinder my experience too much, but I could definitely throw that out there for a little bit of the bad. And the final point in the bad section, shocker, the bad section is really damn short. The ending didn't answer enough of my questions. I feel like the DLC is going to answer the exact questions I had at the ending, and even though I love the ending, it just didn't answer enough for me. So I hope the DLC does, but in a sense, I wish they didn't go that route. I could eat my words and I'd be completely wrong, but who knows. But yeah, the bad section was really damn short because I really enjoyed this game. I did want to say a couple things I didn't enjoy or I thought they could have done better with that. But yeah, this game is pretty incredible to me, mostly a positive experience. And that was pretty much all the bad I could really think of. Anything else that might have gotten gripes from me through my playthrough, I don't remember. So obviously they were insignificant. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, if you got this far and watched this whole review, I appreciate you so damn much. I love making JRPG content for you guys, and I worked really hard on this video as Xenoblade is a series near and dear to my heart. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe if you enjoy my content, as it helps me out incredibly much. You guys have an incredible day, and if you're playing Xenoblade 3, go kick some super boss ass for me. There will be links in the description to my Twitch where I streamed this game and I stream all my first JRPG playthroughs. There will also be a link to the edited videos of my first playthrough so you guys could see all my reactions, because I pretty much lost my mind almost at every turn in this damn game. So alright guys, I will catch you in the next video, and I hope you guys have an incredible day. Peace out.